I know we have a lot of new participants on the call, as well as some returning people. So thank you for taking the time out of your very busy, responsive days to be here on this call with us. So I will be leading this call along with Garret Olson, who is a consultant from Resolute Associates. And we engaged Garret about 5 months ago at Downtown SLO to work with us on a strategic plan for our organization. We have now pivoted and we are focusing completely on a recovery and response plan in light of COVID-19. As people start to trickle into the call, I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. We do have a little bit of a deck to share with you today because we like to make sure that we have high production values here at Downtown SLO. You may know our organization because of our events. And so we're going to use this as a guide to go through our meeting today. And I invite you to give me a little bit of grace because this is a little bit challenging to lead a meeting and use Zoom at the same time. Also, as co-hosts on your meeting, we have Rachel Maiorino, our Chief Operating Officer, and Whitney Cheney, our Farmers Market Manager. So I would like to just start off by saying a little bit about where we are. We are approaching the recovery.
Join the meeting.
We're approaching the recovery and response in terms of 4 steps. And I want to just point out that we are very much in the public health directives phase. That means that we are in shelter at home order, and we are still looking ahead at a pandemic that has not even really yet begun to affect our community in the ways that we will expect given the science that is being shared with us. We're also next going to be doing the information sharing, and that has been a little bit of a fire hose over the last 3 weeks as information comes from the federal government, from the state government, from our county officials, from our city, and we're doing our best to funnel that and kind of decode that. I see our role as an organization is kind of the decoder ring, trying to figure out what is right for our businesses and our small businesses in our downtown. We're also looking at the economic relief, and as you know, this is coming, but this is still pretty far away. There are some steps that have been taken, but this is by no means coming. And then we're looking at recovery, which is months away. And I wanted to share with you, just this morning, I was on a call of CEOs of downtown association directors all across the city with the International Downtown Association. And it was a really fascinating and sobering call. Many of those organizations, there were people from Boston, Washington, DC, Denver, and Seattle on the call this morning. And so each of those organizations is at a different phase of where COVID-19 has hit the community. And I just wanted to share with you a few perspectives that we're hearing on the national downtown front. One is that as downtowns—
Michael Dameyer.
Join the meeting.
As downtowns are very much generally made for bringing people together through large events, we're all trying to figure out how we can do that in a responsible and safe manner. And we've all been really reacting and figuring out how to put a halt to our events during the first wave. And a lot of the people who are a little bit farther ahead of us at this time are now looking at what to do during the second wave of the pandemic, as we just don't know so much about this disease and how the facts continue to mature and the research and the science bear that out. So another thing that I gleaned from the call this morning was that a lot of downtowns are starting to board up their businesses. And that is something that people can do safely. It's a way of protecting in light of what might be different weather patterns that are coming through, but also human behavior that might involve graffiti and violence. So that's something that others are thinking about. And I say that not to frighten you, but really just to put a little bit of perspective into where we are, how we fit in, how our downtown fits into this overall downtown movement. And our Downtown SLO Board of Directors, this is a list of all of our beautiful smiling faces. Thank you so much for stepping into this leadership position. We really appreciate you, especially those of you who are new and your term just begun April 1st. That's certainly not the reality that you expected when you decided to run for the board. Over the last 3 weeks, our organization has really The board has empowered the professional staff to step up and do crisis management response. But going forward, we are going to be calling on the board of directors to step up a little bit more. And we're going to be calling on your expertise as your reality has come into more clarity, hopefully, whatever that means for you. And we will be calling on you. We will be having a closed meeting of our board of directors next week where we will conduct some board business. But that will be in addition to these Monday weekly meetings that we will continue to have. So Garret, you want to talk a little bit about our reality right now?
Yeah, just a real quick recap. I'm sure all of you are staying intimately aware of the news, but as we consider our current reality, we've distilled that down to these bullet points. So this will likely be the day where we crest into triple digits with our COVID experience here in our county. Sadly, over the weekend, we experienced our first death attributed to county, due to COVID in the county. We anticipate that we have not yet reached our peak in COVID cases, and there is new guidance from the CDC and from our county public health officer, Dr. Penny Bornstein, regarding facial coverings, and Bettina referenced that earlier. And the guidance is, if you are not by yourself or isolating with your family, if you're somewhere where you cannot maintain a physical distance of 6 feet from other people, that you wear a simple face covering. Unnecessary to wear N95 masks or surgical masks. We would prefer that those go towards those healthcare professionals in hospitals and first responders. And so the cloth mask is an appropriate way of protecting yourself. As you probably heard over the weekend, they're now finding that there is likely some ability for disease transmission just from two people talking with each other. So it doesn't have to be a sneeze or a cough for that to happen. The shelter at home order is in effect until further notice. We're anticipating that the April deadline may be extended. And so those are some of the planning and contingency assumptions that we're making. We're uncertain when normal is going to be normal. We do know that the social, financial impacts of this are going to linger much longer than the initial spike of getting to that reality. And we will see recovery in stages, and that's part of the plan that Bettina and the team and the board are baking into. How do we deal with ourselves now, but then as things change, how do we, in a thoughtful and credible and safe way, re-engage when that's possible? So those are the realities that are the basis of our planning assumptions at this point.
Great, thank you so much, Garret. That's really helpful. And I'm actually going to take a step back now, and we're going to look at where we were pre-COVID-19, because as I mentioned earlier, we were engaged in a strategic planning process, and we've been doing a very deep dive into the data of downtown. This is a graphic that shows the job density per acre, and this is data from the longitudinal employer household dynamics data product, which is part of the US Census Bureau. And that data is updated every 5 years. And so the census is going on in 2020. Hopefully you all filled out your census. That's very important. But this is data from 2015. And as you can see, there are just over 11,000 jobs in the greater downtown area. And if you look at the density map, it shows that downtown is really a site of a lot of the job density. So we want to hear from you now. We're going to ask a few polls during this Zoom meeting. We want to know how your businesses have been affected. So we'll launch the poll, and we'd like to see how your current employer-employee payroll reality is impacted. And so if you are an employer, please answer this question about whether you've had to do furloughs, whether you're able to maintain current staffing level. And if you are an employee, if you could take your best guess at what you believe your employer has done. This is not a totally scientific data set that we're looking at through these polls, but rather we're trying to capture a general sentiment of what the reality is at this moment in time, which is Monday, April 6th, 2020. And we know that that reality is really all we can appreciate because we don't know what's going to happen in a week. And as I said on last week's call, there are really only 3 days now. There is yesterday, today, and tomorrow. So thank you for filling in these polls. This is a really cool feature of Zoom meetings. And incidentally, while we're all filling out those polls, I do want to note that we are aware of some of the Zoom security issues that have come up. And we're looking into maybe making these meetings password protected so that we don't get Zoom bombed by ne'er-do-wells who've been up to no good in other meetings. So just a minute or more to finish up this poll. And what we also want to understand here is how many jobs existed prior to COVID-19, how many will be eliminated permanently as a result, and how the employers and our association can support the workers who filled those jobs, because those workers are our friends and our neighbors. Okay, let's move on now. Rachel, can you bring that poll down so we'll go to that later? Okay, interesting. It's good to see that. Are you able to see the results there? There you go. Thank you for your grace as I navigate Zoom technology. That's great to see that so many of you have been able to not change your staff, but gosh, this is all over the map. And I just want to say, I'm so sorry. This is really heartbreaking stuff. And these are people who we know and care about, and there are work families, and this is real. Okay, so back to some of that, the survey results. Before all of this was going on, we were measuring how many different types of businesses there were in our district. So before COVID-19, there were 86 bars, restaurants, cafes, and the like. As of today, we believe there are 49 that are offering takeout and delivery. So thank you to all those of you who have pivoted. Also with the retail businesses, there were 109 operating before COVID-19, and now to our knowledge, there are 55 that are offering some kind of online sales with a delivery component, even though they're not open to the public. And we are really focusing on these first story businesses because this shows, we did a survey before the COVID-19 pandemic began about what types of activities people enjoy when they come downtown. And we got 621 responses. And overall, the majority of people want to come downtown to eat and to shop. So we are trying to funnel the information and follow what people want to do, which is eat and shop when they come downtown. We have some fabulous data from this survey that we did, but we're trying to figure out appropriate ways to roll this out in the weeks that come, because so much of it has been rendered irrelevant during this time of crisis. But we think that it will be relevant as we move into the recovery phase. So what have we done as an organization? Well, we've all pivoted, and our team is really here to help you. So a lot of what we've done in the past is put on large-scale events, which obviously are not allowed and are not appropriate at this time. So we've all pivoted, and we're working on outreach and communication. Here are pictures of us. You can see all 8 of us are working remotely, and we're available to you Monday through Friday and also on the weekends. You can find us through various content, various channels. And what we're really focusing on right now is telling the downtown story. The story of what downtown was, the story of what downtown will be, and the story of what downtown is currently. We're also trying to connect with you. So thanks to our wonderful ambassador, Stefan, he has made 271 phone calls to our member businesses. We continue to reach, to work through our list. We have about 625 businesses, including those first floor, second floor, and third story businesses. We are making calls, and we're hoping to reach everybody by the end of this week. Our other ambassador, Austin, will be returning from paternity leave this week, and he'll be reaching out. So I know a lot of you will be interested and excited to hear from Austin. And we're also working to share the information, the downtown story, with the public. We've seen some really incredible rise in our social media, particularly on our Instagram channel. We've gone above 6,000 followers, and that just grows every single day. Kat Thompson and Whitney Cheney and Nisha Johnston are really doing the lion's share of pushing out information on that Instagram. So please don't forget to tag We Are Downtown SLO and hashtag Downtown SLO and hashtag SLO together when you're telling the story about what your businesses are doing. So we also know that we're not the subject matter experts in all of these contacts, in all of the context of what's happening. So a lot of what we've been doing the last 3 weeks is figure out whose lane is whose and how we get out of each other's way so that we can provide the best help directly to you, the business owners. And we've got a couple of people who are direct economic development stakeholders today. So first off, we'd like to hear from Judy Mahan from the SBDC downtown. Judy, are you on the call?
Bettina, we might need to pivot because I saw Judy just had to step away, so maybe Jim could fill in, and then when Judy gets back.
Great. Jim, are you on the line?
I am.
Hi, Jim.
Hello there. How are you? Thank you so much for having us. And, it's a great segue that you just talked about was everybody trying to find their lane and not overwhelm during this time of information avalanche, but making sure all of us have all business owners, individuals, have all the information necessary in order to make the best decision. So yeah, we've been doing something similar, trying to figure out where that is. Myself, as the CEO of the SLO Chamber, am actually currently sitting as the chair of the Coalition of the Central Coast Chambers. And so we are specifically working through all of our chambers to try and get information streamlined to make sure we have the best information, most accurate information, and working closely with with Downtown SLO, trying to make sure that everybody's getting the right information and not so much that we all just tune out. It was great. We actually on Friday had a fabulous conversation. I think a lot of folks from our overlapping group were there with Judy, specifically speaking about that Paycheck protection program, the emergency disaster loans, because that, as from what we've had in our conversations with all of our members, is obviously the first key point, which is how do I make it through this time? And so we did about an hour and 15-minute presentation with Q&As. And as I'm sure Judy will talk about in a minute, it's amazing how fast things are changing. Literally every 24 hours, there seems to be something new and different. And it makes sense. We're looking at programs that are being developed for an entire country kind of overnight. So what does it look like? How do these things work? It's going to be important to kind of share this content through all of our groups. And that's why we're sharing with our group everything that Bettina sends us from the Downtown SLO side. We hope everything that we have and are sharing, you all should feel free to, whether you're a member of the SLO Chamber or not. This isn't about whose group do you belong to or not. We just got to make sure that our community makes it through these difficult times, and putting any resource out there that is important is put out through the whole group. And so again, we're partnering with the city on, I think we just saw it on Saturday, that Shop Local program for Shop SLO, trying again, taking that piece of our, we're doing with restaurants with Takeout. Let's make sure we're doing it with our retailers to keep those folks afloat, so that they can make it through to the PPP program and get the resources they need to just get through this difficult time. And Bettina, I'll say it was fabulous the way you laid out, where we are and where we're going. We definitely are in this point where we're just trying to get information and resources out to everyone. And the problem is that there's still folks that we're missing, and we're just trying to figure out what the best way to get that information out. So we're trying through all the social media channels, any email we can get. If you think you're sharing something, oversharing, I don't think that's a problem. You should keep doing it. If they know what they need, that's great. But we got to make sure we find everybody to let them know. And so that's why our partnerships with Downtown SLO, all the chambers throughout the region. And when I say all the chambers throughout the region, we're going all the way to North Santa Barbara County, Lompoc, Buellton, and talking with them and sharing those resources. And so we will have weekly webinars. We should be announcing a little later today probably, that are going to try and tackle these key questions on resources in the meantime to make sure that businesses are getting what they needed. So we're here as a partner with Downtown SLO, and and Bettina and her team have been amazing partners for us. So we thank you all for your doing, and if there's anything we can do to help from our lane, please let us know.
Thank you so much, Jim. Yeah, we really appreciate you. That call on Friday was very helpful with you and Derek Johnson from the city and Judy Mahan. Is Judy back on the call by any chance? Nope, not yet. She is a very busy lady right now, so that is understandable.
I'm here.
Oh, you're here. Hello. Hi, Judy.
Sorry, I was muted the whole time.
Can we get a little update from you, please?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for providing the opportunity to share more information. Really appreciate the opportunity to do that. No big changes since Friday, thank goodness. There was a change that was made on Friday. The interest rate on the Paycheck Protection Program loan did go up from 0.5% to 1%. So it's now a 1% interest rate on that loan. Some clarification that I can provide based on the amount of questions that we've had coming in. A lot of questions on how to calculate the loan amount that needs to be submitted on the borrower form for the PPP that gets submitted to the bank. Businesses should include the entirety of their payroll from February 1, 2019 to January 31st, 2020. Divide that number by 12 to get your average monthly payroll. You exclude from the original total amount any amount in excess of $100,000 paid to owners or any other employee for that matter. And exclude any amounts paid to independent contractors. So independent contractors do not count in your payroll amount for PPP. Once you have your 12-month amount divided by 12, you obtain your monthly average, multiply that number by 2.5. And then there's been a lot of confusion about what else do I add into that final number? People have applied for the prior loan program that was available that started about 3 weeks ago called the EIDL loan, the Economic Injury Disaster Loan. If you applied for an EIDL loan and have not received it, the amount on PPP that you would add into your monthly average that you multiply by 2.5, the amount you add to that for EIDL is 0. So don't worry about adding anything else to that number. The amount is 0. Some people say, well, I'm going to get my $10,000 advance. You might not get $10,000. You may get $5,000. It is up to $10,000. So if you have not received anything yet, even if you have not received the loan advance, do not add anything else to that number. It's just your monthly average times 2.5. So that's some clarification we've obtained in the last, since Friday. And then proof of payroll. So what are the documents you need to submit to the bank? Basically, you need to complete the borrower form. There are quite a few certifications that you sign off on. So the SBA has agreed that if you can certify that you have made those payments and other certifications on the borrower form, That is all we're asking for. They're not asking for tax returns. They're not asking for P&L statements. They're not asking for schedules of liabilities. None of those forms are needed anymore. But you do have to show some kind of proof of payroll. So it could be the records from your payroll processor that you use. It could be tax filings that you have done for payroll. It could be forms 1099. So if you have made payments to independent contractors, it shows that you've made payments. However, you do not include the amounts paid to independent contractors in the calculation you make to obtain the PPP loan. So that's why there was some confusion around that piece. And any bank records would work. If you don't have any of those other records, using your bank statements to prove payroll payments would work as well.
So,
and that's simplified.
Judy, can I ask just a basic broad level question for you? Because I know this stuff is complicated and it's granular here.
Yes.
Which banks are currently processing which program?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And so I want to get on the weeds a little bit because hopefully I've answered questions on the PPP program. Those are the main questions we're getting. How do I calculate my loan amount? Do I include independent contractors? What do I need to prove that I made those payments? Those are three questions that we're getting over and over again. That's what I was sharing on that piece. The banks that are processing, I'm pulling up a document right now. Let's see. American Riviera, Bank of America, Coast Hills, Chase, Pacific Western Bank, Wells Fargo, Pacific Premier Bank. We know that all those banks are processing PPP loans. That being said, all of those banks are prioritizing their client portfolio. For the most part, they're completely overwhelmed. They're processing a tremendous amount of loans. I think I think it was Wells Fargo. Wells Fargo put out a press release this morning stating that they're completely overcommitted and they can't process any more loans at this time. And they've only been prioritizing their clients for these applications. So it's going to be tricky. We've informed our clients, please check with the bank that you bank with to see if they're processing those loans. The banks have committed to trying to provide priority service to their client base. There are some solutions coming into place. There are 2 online banks that have been processing PPP loans for non-clients. One is Kabbage.com, Kabbage.com, Kabbage.com. There's certified lenders. It's a resource you can trust. They've been approved by the SBA. We've had a client have success in submitting a PPP to Lendio, L-E-N as in Nancy, D as in dog, I-O, Lendio.com. They're processing PPP loans as well. So 2 other online options that could be a resource for people who are having a hard time with their local bank. And one last piece of important information that I wanted to share and reiterate. For all businesses that applied for the EIDL loan, the Economic Injury Disaster Loan that was made available 3 weeks ago, if you applied prior to March 30th, you need to reapply for that loan to get up to $10,000 in a loan advance that will be forgiven. So if you applied prior to March 30th, please reapply for the EIDL loan to qualify for the loan advance that will be entirely forgiven.
Thank you so much, Judy. That's really helpful. And I just want to give you some major props for your responsiveness, and your team has really stepped up. So thank you. And maybe we can throw some of those links to the websites that you mentioned up in the chat. That would be really helpful, as well as the list of the banks. Okay, great. Well, thank you very much. We have some other stakeholders on the call as well. Courtney, can we hear about Cal Poly's efforts? I believe the quarter started today. Courtney Kino, are you on the call?
It did. Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. It did. The quarter started today, the first day of it's our spring quarter, and we've been able to successfully transition about 98% of our courses to online, which if any of you are connected to any of our faculty, please send them some love. They had to transition all of that in a few weeks, and it was a big effort. We normally house about 8,000 students on campus. We are down to 700, and we have shifted all of the remaining students into 2 apartment-style residence halls. So what normally a room that would hold 4 students has 2 in it, and we're trying to reinforce social distancing as much as possible with them. For those about 7,000 students that are no longer living on campus, we've refunded their housing and dining and parking fees. So yeah, it's been a lot of moving parts, and we think about 2,000 to 3,000 students are remained in the community living off campus. That's a guess. We can't know for sure, but Student Affairs thinks that the number is about there. We, as I said last week, have been standing up, really the county is the lead, but standing up the alternative care site at Cal Poly in our rec center. The first phase of that, which is about 165 beds, should be complete this week. We are in close communication with the county and the state and the CSU about summer and fall courses. Decisions have not been made yet about if those will be in person, although the president is hopeful that they will be, at least for fall. All of our updates are on coronavirus.calpoly.edu. So throughout the week, if people have questions, there's a FAQ and a lot of resources there. And then I know it sounds so funny to talk about it, but we have our master plan going to the Board of Trustees in the middle of May 12th. And so that will allow us to move forward with more student beds. And as we're talking about recovery and impacts to the community, I know that has that's something that downtown businesses care about, where those students are living. And so we are gearing up for that meeting. So that's all I have for today.
Great, thank you so much. Really appreciate that. And it's interesting to think about our community without the thousands of Cal Poly students. We think about those sort of quiet summer months when a lot of the students are not here, and to think about that being the new normal it's chilling. So thank you for that update. I think we also have Melissa James from REACH. Is she on the call?
Yes, I am. Hi, Bettina.
Hi, Melissa. Sorry, I don't have your logo up here.
Oh, that's okay. So yeah, happy to provide a brief update. My name's Melissa James. I'm the CEO of REACH. Some of you may know our organization, formerly called Hourglass Project. Just by way of background for those who don't know, REACH is an economic impact organization serving the Central Coast from Vandenberg Air Force Base to Camp Roberts. So it's 12 cities, 2 counties, and about 500,000 people. The organization was formed out of a growing need and conversation around the impact that the Diablo closure would have across our communities and our economy, and leaders coming together to say, we need to actually work together on how we foster a vibrant economy. And here we are now, dealing with an immediate, global pandemic and economic shutdown. And it's more apparent than ever that the coronavirus does not know jurisdictional boundaries. It cuts across all of our communities, and any sort of relief, recovery, resilience strategies that we're putting in place really need to be done collectively across all of our communities. And so that is the space that REACH is really stepping into. We've partnered with SLO County, formalized a partnership to kind of lead the relief, recovery, and resilience planning. We're doing the same types of partnerships in collaboration with Santa Barbara County, with an ultimate goal that we would have something united across the 2 counties. I appreciate the kind of update from you, Bettina, and the way that the Downtown Association is very much looking at the future in stages. We don't know when these different trigger points are going to come, but we know that they're going to be coming. And so putting some thought and planning around how we are going to be working together across our organizations and what's going to take place at each of these different trigger points is going to be essential. So one thing that I'd like to kind of share with you and how we're trying to integrate organizational leaders from across the public sector, the private sector, and community organizations is currently within the partnership we formed with the county. We have Andrew Hackelman. For those of you who don't know him, he's my partner over here at REACH, and he's currently working out of the EOC as a direct advisor to Wade Horton with kind of dealing with a lot of the emergency preparedness and planning related to kind of increasing our healthcare capacity. So really participating in the public-private partnerships that are coming together for the ACS site at Cal Poly. Andrew's kind of been a lead in integrating those players and supporting that. So he's kind of embedded over at the EOC. Wade Horton has also appointed Carolyn Berg out of the EOC to be the lead on recovery strategies. So she is a key interface with us. And then of course, you know, I'm on the outside here running a homeschool and also kind of leading the REACH organization and really working to integrate partnerships with the Downtown Association, with the Coalition of Chambers, with the SBDC, and how we can be integrating in a collective planning effort. So that gives you a little bit of context around how we're organizing for the work ahead. And then I'll just give you a couple of quick updates on some of the kind of near-term tactics that we've rolled out with as we're trying to provide immediate kind of economic relief and information to individuals. Later this week, in that partnership with the county, we've really stressed the need for integration within communications and resources. So we all know about Ready SLO as a website in which you can go to find emergency service type information. We believe that now and long into the future, as we know that this is going to be a reality that we're going to be dealing with in different levels, we need kind of a one-stop shop for business and economic information, as we all know that the facts are rapidly changing all the time, and we believe we'll be much more successful if we're collaborating on one source rather than having every organization have resources everywhere. It can be confusing for the business community. So we've structured what will be called Recover Central Coast, and that will be the platform, and we are going to be kind of integrating all of the partnerships and how to continue to work together to keep that updated. So more on that to come. And then another piece that we're really looking at that we'll be kind of rolling out or, you know, pulling people to work on is what is our kind of regional grant strategy. And in the same ways we're trying to bring resources to individual businesses. And I know Judy's really taking a lead at the SBDC and helping businesses find immediate relief with payroll protection and various things. We also want to be looking at, in big federal stimulus packages and funding, how are we bringing big dollars into our region as a whole to be applying to various projects and so forth. So we've kind of set up a team that will probably grow in the coming weeks on how we are going to scout and write grants and position our region politically to ensure that we're bringing those dollars here. So that's another piece that we're kind of organizing and how we're going to go after those types of activities. And then I think the last thing I'll say just on the high level is how much I appreciate Bettina and the Downtown Association and these meetings. I think that you guys are doing a really great job to really organize the conversations. And in a time where all of the business community and the community organizations are all feeling the pain, we know long into the future the needs are growing immensely. They're greater than they've been, and yet we're less resourced. And so we know that we have to be able to go farther with less. And that's where the partnerships really come in. We can go fast, we can go very fast alone, but we know we can go farther together. And so just appreciate the you having me and structuring these conversations across the partnerships.
Great. Well, thank you very much, Melissa. And you're a part of downtown too, because the Reach office is in the heart of downtown. So this is all part of our community, our neighborhood. And we really are all in this together. So thank you for that. Okay, I think next up we have Molly Kino from the city of SLO. Molly, are you on the line?
I am. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Awesome. I see some nods. Good. All right. Well, good morning. Thank you for giving us some time to give a little bit of update on some of the few items that the city has been working on over the past week. So a few items right off the bat. The last week I talked to you guys a little bit about our virtual takeout and delivery map that the city had put together and launched. We currently have now up to 133 restaurants or eateries that have entered in their information. So again, if you haven't done this yet, or your neighbor or anyone that you work with that has an eatery in SLO has not taken advantage of this yet, please share this resource with them. And if hours or things change within your business, we can go ahead and get those updated quickly. And it's just a simple email that you can send over to us, linked within the map as well. So in addition to that, the city did launch our virtual shopping map. So we launched our virtual shopping map on Friday. So we rolled that out. So far, it has been rolled out to businesses. And so we sent it out to the folks that we've got contact information via email for here within the city, and have also outreached to our partners over at Downtown SLO as well as the Chamber to help get that out to businesses also. So it's a quick form to fill out as well. This is for businesses that we know have had to pivot to offer online retail as opposed to their brick and mortar in our current situation. So this form that Bettina is scrolling through has all of that information on how it's laid out, how you just really quickly upload your information, hit submit, and it automatically gets posted to the map. This week, we have about 33 businesses that have already since Friday updated their information or posted their information in there. We're hoping to get a handful more. Our internal team will be working with Bettina and her team to get some of the businesses in downtown that have not yet put their information in there, to get in touch with those folks to do so. And once we get a few more businesses onto this map, what we will be able to do is we're going to start pushing that out more to our community so that they can also use this as another resource. And in alignment with the Shop Small Saturday program that the Chamber launched this weekend, helping to support that as being a resource to find some of that information as well. In addition to what Courtney touched on a little bit with Cal Poly students over the past week, we've also been working on communication and outreach there. As spring quarter started, the virtual spring quarter started today, one of the things that the city has been really looking at is how can we help and align with Cal Poly in the messaging to ask students to stay sheltered at home where they are, whether that be encouraging them to stay at their place of residence where they had gone to for spring break, or to, if they are here in town, to stay sheltered at home in their place of residence here. And so we've sent out messaging, and we have been reaching out to those students to help support that messaging and helping them understand and appealing to them that they are part of our solution to slow the spread here in San Luis Obispo. So the city, is really hopeful that the students will respond to this request in the way that we've seen the greater community here in San Luis Obispo respond to that. However, in the instance that it is not something that is obeyed or followed, the city is looking at what enforcement action would need to be taken. So more to come on that. This community development department, one of the things we've rolled out last week, and more communication will be going out today is to our business community that is looking for permits, plan checks, you know, any of those kind of essential services that are still happening right now. Community development is fully operating, though remotely. They are able to accomplish applications, to do their plan checks, to issue permits, and to do inspections and whatnot for all of those essential businesses during this time. So all of that information is available through the city's website, and specifically as it relates to what's going on during this COVID-19 time period, you can go to the city's website, slocity.org/COVID-19, and more information will be available on that specifically. In addition, the city has rolled out the dedicated hotline for businesses and community members regarding the shelter-at-home order. So you may be familiar with the hotline that the county is using. The city has coordinated with the county, and so this hotline is available directly through the city for the community and the businesses here. In the instance that something is reported to the county is tracking all of that information and on a daily basis submitting basically a database over to us of the information that has come in to their hotline, so that somebody doesn't need to call both. We are hoping that if it's a business or a concern here in the city of SLO, it comes directly into our hotline. However, if it goes into the county, they are getting that information over to us. So again, that phone number, it's also listed on this website on our COVID-19 page under the hotline, which is the first blue link under the business resources. And so that is a useful tool up under shelter, under shelter at home. Navigating remotely over here. And so that phone number is back on that COVID-19 page.
Oh,
so you can go back over there. And so, yeah, and so this resource is really to report concerns or to receive clarification on if a business can be operating, or if there's a concern that a business is operating when they shouldn't be operating. This is a place for the community to be able to provide that information. Additionally, you will notice, so fire and PD are public safety, you know, as we talked about earlier in this call with having the face masks and whatnot. So PPE, you will notice that our public safety will be wearing PPE as they interact with the public. And so regardless of if it's call related to COVID-19 or not, just as they're interacting with the public, you will notice that you will see our public safety wearing that as well. And in addition, last week we talked about the SLO Together signs. So the signs, We Are SLO, that are have been made available. Thank you, Bettina. And so thank you to Matt Quaglino, you know, and really kind of coming up with this fantastic idea. He has already put these signs out in front of his, on his properties, but they are available for others within the communities in a variety of sizes. And so if you did want to download them, print them off to put in your windows, they're available for you as well. So they're all on there. In addition to COVID-19 and the response that's going on with this, while it feels like that is taking over all of our thoughts right now, there are a number of projects that are still going on here in the city beyond just our response to COVID-19. So a couple of things that I wanted to touch on specific into the downtown. So the Marsh Street Bridge Replacement Project. And so there have been some pre-construction meetings and things that have been going on as it relates to this. The construction start date is anticipated for May 11th, and so they're looking at the anticipated start date of being in May. The general contractor may be doing some pre-work prior to then, so you may see some work happening, but that will not impact the availability to use vehicular or bicycle or pedestrian traffic along the Marsh Street Bridge right now. And so that is going on. In addition to that, the June 1st, really looking towards June 1st is when they are anticipating the the needing to close and control traffic and do some detours and reroutes as it relates to that. The reason being June 1st is that is the soonest that we are able to access the creek in order to be able to begin construction projects around that. So the team has been working to make sure that they can expedite this while traffic, is minimized and reduced right now. However, June 1st is a permit time period that that we have to maintain. And so we're expecting that to get started and become very active after June 1st. As it relates to the Murr Street Bridge, more communication and direct information with links and specifics will be rolled out within the next few weeks. So businesses in the downtown, as well as residents that are within kind of a 3/4 of a mile radius of the project, will be receiving some mailed communication on that as well. In terms of the Higuera Street Sidewalk project, construction is still ongoing with this particular project. This is one of the highlights of the COVID-19 situation, is that the project was able to move quicker. So in order, because of the traffic and what's going on in the downtown area, they are now able to do daytime work. And so what that means is that instead of having to do their construction between, the nighttime hours, they've been able to do that construction during daytime. And so they are anticipating a quicker completion date for this particular project. May 18th was the original completion date, but according to our city engineer, they're anticipating it to hopefully be completed by the end of this month. So some good news and some silver linings with that.
Great, thank you.
Let's see it. Oh, okay. One last thing that I was going to just add is that council is meeting this week. So council does have we do have a city council meeting on Tuesday. It will entirely be virtual. It'll entirely be done via a teleconference. And so there is instructions if you go onto the city's website and you're interested in participating in that meeting of how you can view it and how you can submit public comment to stay informed on what's happening with our city council items.
Great, thank you very much. Thank you, Molly. I know there's so much happening, and we just want to be mindful of people's times. Our intent with this call is really to take about an hour each Monday, and we are going to go a little bit over that today. So if some of you need to leave, understand why. But we did want to talk about some of the other things that our businesses are doing. We do, of course, have our virtual Downtown SLO page. We're getting good traffic on that, and we're updating it daily. We're launching, we have our We Are Downtown SLO series now. We're highlighting various local downtown personalities, and we'll be continuing with that, getting our downtown people to say things with their own mouths and pushing that information out, because we know our downtown is a fabric of people, really. It's a place of buildings, it's a place of institutions and businesses, but really it's the people who make downtown so special. And we just want to give a little push that Easter is coming up, even though it is going to be a little bit different. So please support some of our downtown businesses that have done some great job getting their Easter products ready to roll out for Easter baskets this spring. And we do have our Facebook group, the Downtown SLO Businesses page. I hope you will join that if you have not joined that already. We'll also be publishing this recorded meeting weekly on that page. And that's in addition to other efforts that are out there. I know Connect SLO has been a great resource that the chamber has pushed out, and we're all finding ways to connect with each other in virtual spaces. Incidentally, also tonight, there's a chance to connect with your congressperson. Representative Carbajal will be doing a call with the Small Business Administration tonight at 5:30. This is the information on that call if you want to get a direct contact with Congressman Carbajal. He's been really helpful. I've been on a couple of calls with the REACH team and Melissa's group. He's working hard for small business and also for employees in our downtown. So write down that phone number. We'll also push that out on our social media as well. Farmers Market, of course, remains on hiatus until further notice. That is sad, but it is the reality that we are operating in, and we do have resources for our vendors You can connect with the farmers who especially are being hit hard by, well, we're all getting hit hard, but the farmers especially need to stay operational so they can continue to feed us. We do have a virtual farmers market on our Downtown SLO website. Last week, we shared some polls, and I'm going to ask Garret to come back on the line if he's still there. I know he's doing double duty right now, working at the food bank. Garret, are you out there?
I am here. Thank you. Thank you to everybody for participating in these polls. A lot of these questions we're going to ask week over week, and they really not only help us understand where you are at that point in time, but they really do allow the Downtown SLO staff to position themselves well to lean in on those areas where you identify need. And so we saw last week that many of you are still continuing to communicate with your employees on a daily basis. And that question number 2, your level of confidence that your business will reopen to the previous levels of service, seeing more than half of you expressing that sentiment really is heartwarming to us. Bettina and Rachel and I had a discussion yesterday in preparation for today's meeting. And so much of the story is, you know, this backdrop of reality, but this sense of local hope, and that's certainly one of them. I'm going to relaunch that poll here while we're going through these numbers and allow you an opportunity to weigh in on that as we go through the rest of the polling numbers. And so question number 3 was your most immediate financial need. And again, cause for hope. Last week, almost half of you said that your business is on solid financial footing. And those other issues, very much the reason why we're having all of the subject matter experts from Dan and Judy and Molly, all of our folks, the REACH folks, Melissa, weighing in to provide you with the information that you need. And so thank you for that. The poll is open, so if you could do the poll while we go through this. And Bettina, if you'd advance one more slide for our last 3 questions from last week.
Yes, and I just wanted to also say that last week rent was high on people's minds, and we did a poll on our Facebook group, and it was really great to hear that so many landlords were able to make some adaptive choices regarding either a reduction in rent or rent forgiveness. So thank you to any landlords that are on the call, and thank you to the renters who advocated and had honest conversations with your landlords about this issue that everybody is dealing with.
And you can see that rent came up as the number 1 item you gave us feedback for on question number 6 there. Again, your feedback allows the staff at downtown to be able to pivot and adjust to your emerging needs. And so over the coming week, last week, you said your most pressing concern was for a lack of short-term revenue from customers and clients. And we've already heard from the city and from Bettina the efforts and the tracking with the number of restaurants and retail that have already pivoted. Last week, again, a sign of hope that well over 50%, approaching almost 80% of you have either already pivoted your business to meet this emerging challenge, or you are in the process of doing that right now. So again, these numbers give us cause for great hope in the resilience, longevity, and return of the downtown to the place that we know and love, and also position your downtown staff to be able to adjust their priorities and provide information to you that is most meaningful in the moment. So I'm going to go ahead and close it. Bettina, do you see the open poll on your end?
I do not see the open poll.
All right, let me reopen that.
Oh, now I see it.
All right, there we go. Are you guys able to participate in that at this point? We might be having Zoom technical difficulties.
We very much may.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll try and relaunch it at the end. I'll throw it back to you now, Bettina.
Okay, great. Thanks so much, Garret. And yeah, we are pivoting. We are here to help support you in any way that we can. So please don't hesitate to reach out to us. You can find us on email, you can find us in Facebook, you can find us on Instagram. You just can't find us in person. So I want to just close today's meeting by giving a little bit of a shout out to the people who have done such a great job of pivoting your businesses. I'm not sure if the folks from Kreutzberg and Porbit Sexy are on the call, but they have done a great job of, they're now producing masks that are much fancier than the one that I made with my ponytail holders and my bandanas. And they're producing those, and those are for sale right now. Also a shout out to the restaurateurs who've pivoted and are turning their restaurants into grocery stores and bodegas. All of the incredibly hardworking retailers who have really stepped up and brought their inventory online and are working to create more ways for people to commit to supporting local. It's really incredible. I think that it's important to note that there is no technical fix to the problem that we're currently in. What we're dealing with right now is an adaptive challenge. And that can be a place to really operate from uncertainty and fear, or it can also be a place to respond with real creativity and resiliency. And I know that I can say with my full heart that you all, as downtown business owners and people who live in this community that is so supportive and loving and collaborative, are going to rise to that challenge. We are a group of adaptive, creative, community-minded people, and it's going to take all of that with a big helping of kindness to get us through. So I'm sorry that we went a little bit over today, but I do want to leave some time for questions. So you can use the raise hand function, and I'm going to ask Garret to facilitate the question here. But what's on your mind? What do you want to know about? There are other things that we're looking at to address in these future meetings. We're looking at questions about maybe the zoning for downtown. We're looking at the built environment. What kinds of construction projects will continue? If we're not allowed to do large scale events, how will that impact the way that we invite tourists to come in and participate? We welcomed 2 brand new hotels into our downtown just before this all started. And we know that that's going to be, it's just a new reality. So curious to hear from you. If there are any questions out there, love to hear from you.
So if you have a question, if you hover over and click on Manage Participants, if you haven't already done that, to see the list of participants, then at the bottom of that panel, you should see the ability to raise your hand. So please raise your hand if you have any questions. And the poll is still open. I see that 8 of you have participated in that. Again, this poll not only is a snapshot in time, but it really does assist Bettina and the staff with focusing their efforts on those that are most impactful to you. So it's starting to look, Bettina, like you kind of nailed the content again. So far, we haven't had any questions. Do you want to talk a little bit more about if people have questions or comments or would like to add to the agenda for this dialogue, if they have a success story to share, how they could go about doing that moving forward?
Yes, and I thank you. I think it's probably not a testimony to my delivery of content, but rather I think there are so many questions that it's hard to know which one to ask in this moment. So I'm sure you all have questions, and if you prefer not to use this public forum, I encourage you to send me an email, send me a text message, send me a carrier pigeon, send me an Instagram DM. I'd love to talk to you. I've had such wonderful conversations with you over the last 3 weeks, and you know, there are a lot of strange, interesting lessons to come out of this. And one of the things that it really is heartening to be connected in a time we are not together physically. So
Bettina,
think about what questions you have. We'll continue.
I do see a couple of questions,
Great.
and it looks like Zoom might not be working perfectly on everybody's. But there's a question, farmers markets are returning this week in other cities with new social distancing guidelines. but they are opening. Are we positioning ourselves for that in SLO as well?
Great question. So our farmers market is a little bit different from other farmers markets, which have been deemed essential business under the governor's shelter at home order. The fact that a farmers market is a place to come and get groceries and get vegetables and fruits, ours is a little bit different from that. So what you might not know is that our organization, Downtown SLO, actually contracts with the SLO County Farmers Market Association. They are in charge of bringing the farmers into the downtown. We have a contract with them. They operate that. Whitney Cheney, our farmers market manager, and I have been in conversation with the Farmers Market Association about bringing back the downtown farmers market in a smaller, scaled back way. At this time, they don't have the capacity to deliver in a safe, fully operational manner. So we're instead encouraging people to go to the farmers markets that are operational within the county. And we've been really heartened to see people like Robin Covey at Novo go out to the farmers markets and bring produce from the farmers markets that are operational and bring them into his store to sell out. But at this time, we don't have any plans to bring back the Downtown SLO Thursday night farmers market until we have further direction from the governor's Department of Public Health and the county.
And Miriam from Black Sheep has a question. So Miriam, you should be unmuted now.
Oh, hi, everybody. Thank you. I was typing because I didn't know if somebody could see me or unmute me. Good morning, and thanks for all the resources. We, as a lot of other people, have been trying to adapt, and every day I try to add more things that people might need, et cetera, et cetera. But my question today for you, and one of the things that I'm currently very much struggling with, is that it would be fantastic to have some sort of a coronavirus delivery service that would help myself, you know, our restaurant, Black Sheep, but also all the other small places that do not already have a delivery system in place, because I have been looking into that. It is not part of my insurance, so I literally would have to purchase an additional liability insurance just for that, and the cheapest I could find so far was over $5,000 or $6,000, which of course is not economically feasible. I reached out to a few, you know, companies, but they have to cover their expenses too, so it doesn't work for them. You know, it'd be like, I don't know, $50 to $100 an hour to hire someone who has like a delivery or drive around service in order for them just to cover their expenses, which if you're delivering, you know, $25 worth of food does not work either. I do not wish to put my employees at risk or anybody at risk and not have the proper liability in place just because I'm trying to avoid the very hefty delivery fees from third parties. So I'm wondering if Downtown SLO could come up with a solution of having maybe a shared restaurant delivery service that would be maybe, I don't know, even if it's only like 3 hours a day or something like that, that we could all partake in, and that would benefit all the people that are trying to make a living and continue to support, you know, our employees, and continue to support and provide food and drinks to the people out there that are also struggling.
Well, that's a great question. Thank you for raising that. And, you know, you actually triggered something in my mind of a thought that I had 2 weeks ago, and I'm going to put somebody on the spot who has no idea I'm about to call on him. But I actually was thinking that this would be a really good opportunity to partner with Bike SLO County and have some bicycle delivery set up. So I know Rick Ellison is on the call. And I totally am putting you on the spot here, but maybe you want to talk about if that would be something that would be possible, because I don't think, like, our organization also doesn't have the financial capacity to take on the insurance that would be involved with like a vehicular delivery system. But I know that there are bicycles and pedicabs, and maybe we could have some kind of courier system.
Thanks, Bettina, and thanks for that question. Am I unmuted?
Yes.
I have had a couple inquiries from just members of the community who have cargo bikes that can carry groceries and other things. It's an interesting thing that was brought up by Black Sheep. I can pursue a little, and maybe we can do a little test. I can reach out, in just a little while to one of my partners to see what we can come up with. We don't have an infrastructure of a large cadre of cargo bikes or others that are kind of in our group. Though it's an interesting concept that I will definitely look into.
Great.
If you would like, I'm happy to be your guinea pig, and we can start with us and then expand to others.
Okay, all right. Yeah, let me pursue it and see. The insurance side that you brought up, probably with a professional delivery service, I don't think that would apply in this case. It's just low profile delivery in the downtown zone.
And Miriam, let me just ask one question. You're referring that you're not interested in pursuing like Food Jets or Grubhub or...
No, I'm very much
Uber
interested.
Eats.
I have been pursuing all of these right now. I'm tackling anything I can get right now so that I can provide much needed revenue and work to my employees. So I'm accepting anything and everything, no matter what the fee is. I'm just saying that, the average is 30% or so. So once you deduct 30% from, the hamburger sale, there's really not that much left to cover expenses such as the food to begin with, but mostly the employees, which is the highest expense. So my goal would be to keep my current working employees on, be able to at least be sustainable and make enough money to pay them, but also help my non-working employees, if we become more successful. And I know there's, relief and things out there. And I've also looked into that, of course. I'm being very proactive on doing all the things that I can to help support my employees. But really the delivery, I think, would make such a huge difference, because if I got to keep that extra percentage and would not have to pay it out to somebody else, that's extra income that I can then allocate towards, sharing with my employees. So that would be my goal. And then also it provides work maybe for somebody else who can do the deliveries and can be paid or have some sort of I know we can trade, I could feed them or something. I'm just trying to be really creative and finding solutions that will work for us, of course, but also down the road for more than just us, and so that we can help each other out during this pandemic.
So Miriam, can I ask you and Rick to get together offline and see what you can figure out? And at our meeting next week, you can give us an update on what you were able to find.
Great.
Sounds good.
Thank you. We had one more question as well, and I know Molly Kino had to drop off of the call, but Bettina, I think we were anticipating this one, and that was regarding the Marsh Street Bridge project and the ability perhaps to move it up to sooner, like tomorrow.
Yeah, actually, I'm going to call on Rachel, because Rachel was on a call on Friday with the construction crew or the project team.
Yeah, thanks, Bettina. I was on a call, and basically they're going as quickly as they can. They have certain requirements tied to environmental as well as planning documents. So that kind of June 1st date that Molly was alluding to, that is kind of by the guidelines that they have to follow, again, for environmental reasons, as well as other planning pieces related to getting into the creek. That is the soonest they can. They're trying to get as much done up front by working in May to kind of get that prepared and ready to go. But they really, on the call, they were so committed to moving this as quickly as possible. We're talking about ways where they're able to hopefully condense the amount of time it's going to take. So more information to come on that. They're going to try a different method for cutting open the street and a lot of technical jargon, but throughout the call, the conversation was making sure to utilize this time as best as possible, so that once we're all through this, whenever that will be, that we're trying to get through it as quickly as possible.
Great. Thank you very much.
Wonderful,
Okay.
Bettina. Those were all of the questions. Rick, I'm going to follow through with you and get you Miriam's phone number so you guys can connect. I'll send that to you via chat in the Zoom meeting.
Actually, we do have a question from Mary Alice Hamilton, so let's call on her.
Hi, everybody. So I have a lot of questions and I have just some concerns. I know that they're talking about the apex of the virus hitting this week, and there's so much that we don't really know about the virus, of how it spreads. A tiger in the Bronx Zoo was just diagnosed with one and with the virus. So we have been actively mailing out our products from our online shop. We're doing really, more than what I thought we would be doing at this point. But my concern is that if we're all supposed to be sheltering at home to curb the wave of the virus, and if we're supposed to be hitting that apex this week, don't you think we should all just be shutting down so we don't spread it? I mean, I don't mean to say that the restaurants shouldn't be open, but why are we talking even about bicycles pedaling around food to people when we're supposed to be shutting down? That's my concern. And I don't mean to be an alarmist or anything, but I haven't left my house since the 19th. I order food through Instacart, and when everything comes home, I wipe it down. I don't know if I'm freaking out, but I don't want to get this virus. I don't want my employees to get it. I don't want anybody else in my community to get it. And I don't understand why we're not just completely shut down. I'm sorry, but that's how I feel, and it's just a concern.
Yeah. I hear you, Mary Alice, I really do. And, this is, I'm going to disclose here that this has been a real challenge for me, just as a leader of this organization, to kind of walk this tightrope between what is safe, and we don't know what's safe, right? Because there's so much that's uncertain out there, and what is protective of the economic reality that we're all living in. So I think what we have to do in this situation is honor the fact that some people are working essential jobs and they're really trying to show up in a way that is now allowing them to continue to have some kind of income coming in. And there are other people who are really, really pulling back. And I agree with you. I'm at home right now. I think this is complicated. And unfortunately, I am not a public health an expert, but I am in the position of trying to, as I said earlier in the call, sort of decode what the regulations are. And I think sometimes the hardest thing to do is to say that you don't know the answer. And I don't know the answer to this question. I don't know if other people have any thoughts they want to share with this. Garret, I know you're working in the food bank every day.
Yeah.
Can you take a stab at this one?
Yeah, so it is a very rational concern, and fortunately, there is a lot we know about the simple efforts that can prevent the spread of this disease. And we also know that people still need to eat. And so whether you're a food bank, which is where I'm lending my time right now, or you're a restaurant providing food to people that need food, whether it's by a bike or by DoorDash or any of the other companies, people still need to eat. Businesses still need to generate revenue, and you can do it in a safe way. And so agencies that are continuing to operate in these times need to make sure that they're following the best guidance, and that guidance is out there and it's being updated each and every day. I'll share with you on behalf of the food bank, we just updated our safety protocol again today, and we had done that on Friday. And so my hope, you know, in the conversation between Miriam and Rick, is that if they find an opportunity for businesses to be relevant in the lives of people that need their service, that they visit the CDC website, that they consult with the county public health officer's guidance, and continue to operate in a manner that is safe. And that's what I'm hearing successful businesses do. Out of an abundance of caution has become the new buzzword. But that would be the conditions under which we'd say, let's find a partnership for us to still be relevant to people that need our services, is that we do it in a safe fashion.
Yeah, and I would just piggyback on that and say that that's one of the reasons that I was wearing a mask at the beginning of this, is that we're, I think, going to be, yes, we're living in unprecedented times, but we can take a clue from some people who have been through infectious diseases before and how their societies have been able to survive, right? So I was on the phone with some friends of mine who lived in China during the H1N1 outbreak. And they said, you know, you just start wearing masks and you wear gloves when you go out in public. And that might be the new reality that we're moving toward. It's amazing how quickly we have swiveled our entire way of operating, right? Like we now can do things that we never thought we could before. And I think that it's going to continue to unfold over time. So I know there's more questions, but it is 11:22. I want to be conscientious of people's time. Please reach out to us by email. Thank you for joining us this morning. And I will be in touch with the board of directors about that private meeting that we'll be having next week. Otherwise, I look forward to seeing you at 10 a.m. next Monday on this call. Be well, wash your hands, eat nutritious food, and take care of yourselves. So thank you very much for this time.
Thank you, everybody.